This episode of the Pet Parenting Reset is actually a live from earlier this year that we did on Instagram. I actually did it with Lauren Becks of Girls Gone Raw Pet Health, which you guys are constantly messaging me about her and you want her back on the podcast so much. She's amazing. I love her. We also had Karen Dendy Smith on. So the reason that this didn't go live earlier this year is because this was actually for Lauren's channel, and she messaged me and was like, why isn't this on your feed? So it was an incredible conversation, and it's very timely for me because with Karen Dendy Smith, we were talking about like the role that animals play in our lives and a little bit of kind of when our animals pass away, and there was a lot going on. And because if you follow me on Instagram, you know that my cat Samantha, who I very affectionately have called Sissy her whole life, we just lost her. I just lost her after 17 years, and she was so amazing. I am still tearing up. Just like I can feel the tears welling up in my eyes right now talking about it. But I figured, okay, now must be the time because I just lost Sissy, and it just feels like the right time to put this episode up on the feed. And it was an incredible conversation. I don't want to talk too much. We talk a lot in the episode. So here it is, Lauren Becks from Girls Gone Raw Pet Health and Karen Dendy Smith from the Animal Communication Collective. Of course, myself, Jessica, with the Pet Parenting Reset. And yeah, guys, I just want to mention really quickly before we dive in, I want to say thank you to Legacy Biome for sponsoring this week's podcast. If you know anything about Legacy Biome, or if you know anything about what I do as a pet health coach, FMT is an important part. It may not be the first thing we do, but it is an important part of what we do to maintain, to establish sometimes, and then often maintain a healthy gut microbiome. So stick around to the end. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Legacy Biome. I definitely want you to check them out, legacybiome.com. But I will tell you a little bit more at the end of this podcast episode about Legacy.
I'm just looking out for Jess. I've never done it with 3 people, so
Yeah. Oops. I gotta get myself settled here. There we go.
Darby. I let Darwin come in and join me today since he didn't get to meet you last time. He'll be mucking stuff up. He's the one with like 42 toes.
Oh, he's so adorbs.
Well, why don't you introduce yourself at least? We have quite a few people watching,
Okay.
at least, so while we're waiting for Jessica.
Okay.
People know Jessica. I've talked to her quite a bit, but give me a little bit of your background, or give our followers here, and all about you.
Okay. Well, it's so funny here watching him.
Uh-oh.
Well, it's really great to be here with you today, Lauren, and my name is Karen Dendy Smith. For those who don't know me, I'm an animal communicator, a soul level animal communicator, which is a very particular type of animal communication. I'm also a soul level intuitive coach and a Qigong and energy work instructor and healer through the Pangu Shenggong form. And I have a podcast with 2 of my colleagues, Meredith Tollison and Julie Heert, called the Animal Communication Podcast, where we talk about all the animal communication things that we've heard from the animals and share our wisdom and their wisdom and answer questions. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And
Well, I think it was cool. I guess I never realized that there was so much. Do you want to call it school or background training and stuff? Like, I feel like my impression of animal communicators was like you're either born with it or you're not.
Yeah.
And it was cool to hear that you discovered that you had this connection and this ability and pursued all that outside training, which is really, I mean, not that you need validity, but I feel like it helps. It helps and to kind of hone your craft too.
Yeah. I mean, you have to go with the flow of who you are too, right? I'm a person who wants to succeed, measure my success. And so for me, going back to school to go through a program was the way for me to validate and test what I was getting and to trust that it was real, because I had a community to work with and practice clients and test phone calls and on and on and on, things like that. So
Yeah.
for me, it was like, okay, I really can do this, so that I felt confident.
And I
But
like
yeah,
that
we all
as
can
a,
do this, actually. We all can do this. It's whether you want to, like I always say, do you want to learn to do 100 sit-ups? takes practice. But
Yeah.
everybody has stomach muscles and can do sit-ups.
I'm wondering if Jessica got, because she's an hour behind us. I just realized that.
Oh,
I
maybe.
just messaged her though. So hopefully we'll get her on here soon.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I agree. I think that, like I said, it's not something that I'm like, oh, well, my animal communicator needs degrees, but it's nice as a consumer
Mm-hmm.
to feel like I'm
Yeah.
getting an authentic experience, especially if it's something that we want to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
your time is well compensated, because it's a lot of work. And I had an absolutely amazing session. I felt bad I kept you like 2 whole hours, but I'm like, I have so many questions.
We talked to a lot of
It
beings.
was a lot of cool. It was so cool. I left it and I was like, I felt like I just like left a party. So
That's
it was
awesome.
definitely a really cool conversation, and I
Mm-hmm.
have a lot of really cool topics to cover. One of the things I wanted to cover, because it's like as I was talking to people about getting ready for this podcast, and obviously this is, as soon as I thought of this, I had been on like countdown mode. I've been so excited for this conversation. So as soon as I knew it was coming, I was just so thrilled to cover these topics. And I'm like, this is something that everybody's really
Yeah.
excited about. And of course, then my dad's like, I just don't believe in that stuff like you do. And I'm like, okay, way to rain on my parade. But it doesn't stop me from believing it, but it does. There's a lot of that kind of poo-poo
Yeah.
energy, like, oh, you're going to talk to ghosts. And I just think that is something that we talked about in
Mm-hmm.
our very initial conversation
Yeah.
of like what gets between us, because like you said, everybody's capable of it, and a lot of times
Everybody's
it
capable.
takes pet parenting reset. Hey, Jessica's here.
Good.
Everybody's capable of it, but there's something that kind of gets in the way that makes
Right.
us believe it's not something that we are capable of. Here, let's get her on
Okay.
here. And that's something I want to talk about too, to kind of start the conversation of
Mm-hmm.
maybe how do we prepare our energy.
Right.
Hey,
There she
good,
is.
we gotcha. We were just talking about kind of, oh, and for anybody that doesn't know, this is Jessica, Pet Parenting Reset. She's a bigger deal than I am. I just,
No,
good conversation.
crazy.
I'm just the one that chit chats, but we've talked a couple times. She is the host of the Pet Parenting Reset podcast, and a personal friend and crunchy friend, to be
Crunchy.
specific.
Hey,
Crunchy,
Jess.
so we were just talking about how there's kind of something that stops a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
from being willing to accept the kind of soul level connection or like signs from the universe or whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. And I know, Karen, you said some good things about that, if you want to elaborate on that.
So, I mean, one of the things that stops us is our minds, right? We overthink things. It's our ego. It's our perception of the 3D world that we've grown up being convinced is the way that it has to be to fit in. But the cool thing about it is that when we're really, really little, we come into the world with all of our senses open. And by all of our senses, I mean the 3D senses that we have that we all talk about, but also we have these other senses which are the same, but on a more energetic level of hearing, seeing, feeling, knowing, tasting, smelling.
Mm-hmm.
And we all come in with all of these things. And we don't have the validation that, we would like, a lot of us, when we're kids. And so we learn really quickly that by sharing those experiences that we're having, we get negated.
Yeah.
So we shut ourselves down for fear that we're not going to be understood.
And that was one of the things that started our conversation. I think that was actually what made me kind of draw the line and want to do this conversation. As I've told you pretty extensively, I have a 4-year-old,
Yeah.
and it's hard to tell between like what's just him being cute and attached to a stuffed animal. But then just yesterday, it even kind of validated it more. He was inconsolable for a solid 10 minutes because he missed so deeply the dog I had when I was a child that he never met. Cried for 10 minutes, Penny. And I'm like,
Oh,
buddy, do you know what Penny looks like? He's like, no, I don't remember. But you know what I mean? I'm like, it's just stuff like
right.
that. He's like, but she's in my heart. She's in my heart. And it's just conversations we have like this that'll go on for like an hour about how
Yeah.
then I have to explain that, well, if Leah's your soulmate, he has this really deep conversation too, the yellow lab that I had in high school. And it's not even like I talk about these dogs a
Right.
lot. I don't think I brought up Penny in like a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden we're driving to school on the phone with my mom and he's sobbing. And I'm like, what's wrong, buddy?
Wow.
He's like, I just really miss Penny. And I'm like, what's
Wow. So
up?
he
So
feels her. This is the cool thing, right? Like he feels her in her heart. He is aware of her on some level, I will say, or it wouldn't be so visceral. Do you know, if it was a
yeah.
little 4-year-old talking about a story, he'd be like, oh, he'd be talking about it from a
Yeah.
distance, but he's so wrapped up in it and physically is feeling her presence. So I think that's what we talked about the other day, was to ask him, what does it feel
Yeah.
like when she's in your heart, so that you
Yeah.
as the mom understand what he's experiencing.
And I do my best to open him, ask him those open-ended questions,
Yeah.
but also sometimes he's he's 5. I guess, did I call him 4? He just turned 5.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
and so the best I get is like, well, it feels like she is in my heart. And I'm like, yeah, okay,
Mm-hmm.
buddy. So then I'm like, I try to ask more questions and I really do my best to not poo-poo it all.
Right.
Because that's what I've seen, all of these videos about people absolutely mind blown because their 3, 4, 5-year-old kid just starts going on a very, very detailed tirade about things that they shouldn't even know about their
Right.
past life. Well, before I met
Yeah.
you, I was a pirate, and they'll go on these like whole things about things that no
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5-year-old should even know about. And I do think that, um, and I believe that young kids are closer to that soul
Yeah.
connection because they're closer to the source or whatever you want to call it.
I
And I do
totally
think
agree.
that that ego, like you said, is kind of that defensive armor that we build around ourselves to protect ourselves from whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what stops a lot of us from believing in religion or heaven or whatever, because like, well,
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to get your hopes up maybe, or whatever it is for you
Right.
individually. And it's like, or you don't want to look like an idiot by being like, my
Yeah.
dog visited me in my sleep, and everyone's like, no, you just had a weird dream. And I just think that
Yeah.
it's cool to
No, it's a
surround
really hard
myself.
thing to explain because, um, I don't know how many of the people watching or will watch later have had experiences as kids. But if I were to ask each of you, like, what weird experience, we would call it weird as adults, but it's not weird.
Hmm.
What experience did you have as a kid that you couldn't explain, but was not just you seeing a picture and thinking about someone? Like for me, I had a few things that would happen. I could see like lights around people,
Yeah.
auras around people, and I would put my hands on the wall in the middle of the night and make like light hands on the wall, so I could, because I was
Okay.
bored, and I would play with my light hands on the wall before I'd go to sleep. And then I would literally lift my energy up out of my body and rock myself to sleep to
Astral projection
soothe
or
myself. So
something.
like it's almost semi-astral projecting. Like I
Yeah.
would lift myself up out and feel my own energy, and I'd spin it back and forth till I would fall asleep.
Huh. Yeah.
Oh,
I I'm trying to think back. That's pretty cool. I feel like I just always was like super ultra connected to my
Yeah.
dogs. It was always
Yep.
just my dogs.
Hmm.
But that's cool. And it's something that I've always believed in. What about you, Jessica? Have you had any?
can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Um, you know, what's interesting is like what I'm thinking about as you guys are talking is, one, yes, I think we see it a lot more in children.
Hmm.
For whatever reason, like you brought up, Lauren, that like they're closer to source, having like being closer to that time of birth,
Hmm.
transitioning from whatever soul plane they're in and into this one.
Hmm.
But the first thing that really popped up for me is the fact that for centuries humanity has gone to such great lengths to suppress the feminine.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
just intrinsically, like and I don't necessarily mean this in a gender specific way, though I do think generally speaking women are more connected to source than men, just because of the differences that we have.
Like it was always medicine women
To
and things like
yeah.
that.
Um, but I think like that suppression of femininity, of the role that women have and the connection that women have to whatever you want to call it, source or life. Literally, females are we're the only ones that can bring life into the world. And that's something so sacred, that I think just that suppression and the suppression, especially here in the US, and I think in most first world countries, like we suppress very intentionally creativity and imagination and anything that is outside of the realm of how to be a productive member of society and pay your taxes, right, is completely suppressed and looked down upon. And so I know for me, like even as a very young child, being that I'm the oldest.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Yeah. And I, I'm not saying that every oldest child has the same experience. Obviously we don't. But I do feel like I had a lot of responsibility placed on me at a very young age. And so I definitely feel like I lost connection with that part of me, like the intuitive, like my imagination. And it's something that I'm getting back. Like I'm very intentionally, actively trying to reconnect with in my adult life. But I feel like it was so suppressed that even to this day, like I'm doing exercises to try to remember my dreams at this point in my life, because I went for so long like either not dreaming or just not remembering what my dreams are. And I think that to me that's kind of a more deeper, not a deeper way to look at it, but like I think it's especially like a reason as to why we do kind of other the idea of intuition and anything supernatural, is because we have been taught for so long that those parts of especially the feminine, they've been suppressed very intentionally.
And I feel like I said, that's what actually her and I were talking about. And I said it would be something cool for the three of us to talk about on our kombucha podcast. But is I feel like you have the topic of divine feminine, divine masculine is like came in and then very quickly got like adulterated by the mainstream TikTok community and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, but we were almost there. Like it came in really honestly with the like the crunchy moms and stuff like that. And I think it can be such a strong thing. And I think that'd be a really cool topic to talk about on our other side of things. But yeah, and like you do see, I mean, Karen, do you know any male communicators? Because I feel like I have not seen. I have not seen
No,
any.
I do. Absolutely, I do.
I guess you're the guy that you trained with, right?
Well, animal communicators is different than energy masters or
Yes, it's
qigong
true.
masters, or although my teacher Paul Frazier and our teacher Master Owen Way is an animal communicator. Actually, he communicates with everything. He would say he communicates freely with great nature, and great nature encompasses the planet, the plants, the animals. And he has had full-on conversations with swarms of bees and asked them to leave the property when people are coming, and they do. And he's asked the deer to stop eating his plants, and they do. And he's asked the snakes to please don't show yourself on my property when there are visitors because you'll scare them, and they don't. And so, and we've had experiences where we've watched him and watched the ducks follow him as he's singing along the river because he's singing to them and they like his song. So he's incredible. He's kind of my mind-blowing example. Can you guys hear me?
I can't. Yeah, I can hear Karen. I can't hear Lauren anymore.
No, I can't hear Lauren anymore either.
Uh-oh. What happened?
Oh, Lauren, where'd you go?
Well, and I think just to kind of fill in the holes, as I was saying, like I don't that whole topic of like feminine and masculine, it's not a gender thing. I think it is.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
having that conversation of like, of course, males can tap into source as well and do all the things. I think it is something that women are more drawn to in general.
I would say in this culture, because if you
Yes.
look at Eastern culture, it's pretty equal, and historically has been for thousands and thousands of years. If you look at the martial trainings and the medicinal trainings, this is all, it's equal. It's more about yin and yang as opposed to male and female, which yin
Yeah.
and yang are male, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Internal and external, fit movement and internal, like, so containing and releasing. So when you think about that if you want to label those male and female, we
Right.
have both
Yeah.
when we are male and we have both when we're female. And it's about cultivating equally both so that you can work with both and keep harmony. So
Yes.
that's
What
really
I was
where,
trying to say.
yeah.
You just said it better.
Lauren, are you back?
I'm back.
Is your sound back?
Yeah, I got like
Yay!
3 calls in a row and it like muted
Oh,
me and I just had to close everything
Oh.
and get back on.
okay.
Sorry about that. Hopefully I didn't miss too much. But yeah. So I don't know if you were in the middle of a topic, but I figured, so both Jessica and I had readings by you, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to talk about some of the things that we kind of got in that. I just want to say, I thought it was so funny. You came right off the bat, and my cat Marnie was not even, I didn't intend to have her as part of the conversation, and she just kind of like was laying on my lap at the time and refused to go away. So you're like, let's see if she wants to talk. And like right off the bat, you pretty much like nailed her. And I was like, not saying anything, not saying anything. You're like, seeing like with the eyes, I'm having some pain. She's very like got tight boundaries. And I was like, mm-hmm. And I just thought that was so funny. I feel like what did she say? Something about relegating distance and wanting to kind of gain power by staying up at a higher part. And so Marnie is my blind cat, and she has a history of kind of sensitivity. She's like the cat that I'm like, you know what, it's just better if you decide, or it's just better if you just leave her alone, right? And I feel bad because she's like, as soon as somebody walks in the door, she will be the first one there to greet them. But then if you touch her the wrong way, she's like, hey, shit, and she'll like bite you. And I'm always like trying to explain to people, I'm like, I know, like they're like, well, she wants attention. And I feel like that conversation we had about her, I was like, because your big thing was like no judgment language, like don't call her a jerk, don't say she's like, because a lot of people would be like, oh yeah, she's kind of a bitch, and I'm like, she's not.
She has her reasons, and this is the thing that I've learned so clearly from the animals. Every action, every reaction, every behavior, there's a reason behind it. There's no premeditated malice or negativity planning going on in their heads the way that we have in our heads. So if she's overstimulated or somebody's energy is too strong for her, which is what we talked about, is she'll come up to check everyone out and wants to be in your field and be around you, but we immediately, all of our energy goes, hey, and it's like a dagger at her because she's so sensitive, because her sight is off. So her radars are so strong that she over sensitizes the, hey, you're so cute, and it's like almost too much static coming at her, which is why she has to say enough. So
Yeah.
it's really interesting how we humanize, in not a good way, our animals' behaviors.
Yeah, I feel like it's almost like, yeah, the dog people coming in at the cats. And I feel like cats get a bad rap because of that.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of boundaries. I have a couple cats, like Darwin does not know a boundary from, you know what I mean? He has no sense of space. But cats, I feel like, get a bad rap because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that we all are crazy cat ladies here, but I get a lot of people that I'm like, oh, what kind of pets do you have? And they're like, we have a blue heeler, we have a cattle dog. Yeah. And then I'm like, any cats? They're like, oh, yeah, we have a cat too. And they just kind of
I know
get
those poor cats
passed
are like
over.
relegated to the back.
I know. And I'm like, well, tell me about your cat. Well, he's just kind of picky. He's just kind of this and that. And I think that they get a bad rap because of that. They can tend to be private.
I saw a meme the other day that was about like dating advice, but it was like, if a man doesn't like cats, that's the biggest red flag ever because he doesn't know how to respect boundaries.
Brandon, if you're watching this, I'm just kidding.
Well, and here's the thing. It's about reading subtlety. With cats, it's about understanding subtlety. They are so intuitive and they are so attached to energy and spirit. Their energy bodies are so much bigger than their regular bodies. All of ours are, but they are aware of their edges. So
I saw it said something like on Jessica, on your topic, like men hate cats because they have women energy, or is it because they have man energy, or something like that? They're like sensitive, and I don't know. I saw
very spiritual. Like I think I told you this, or I think I asked you this when I had you on my podcast, Karen, because for whatever, like I've come to the conclusion that like cats are like our spiritual guides in this world, I feel like, and dogs are here to teach us unconditional love. And like that's just in my mind, that's what I believe. And I just that's been my experience.
Actually say you're on the right path, but I would say that all animals, if they're in your presence and connected to you in any way, are teaching you something about what unconditional love actually means. Right? Because there isn't judgment, and so they operate from what we would call this place of, my teacher Paul Frazier will be so proud of me using the word Po spirit, which is kind of our essential spirit, where we are so very much in tune with the now and what moving with the flow of life. So if you're in real presence and you're holding space fairly and equally and without judgment, then you're really operating from a place of unconditional love. Because no matter what comes at you, whatever somebody does, no matter what they say, if you're in presence with sensing them and not judging them, then you're holding space for them and you're in unconditional love. And so all animals operate from that vibration.
Yeah.
They do it in different ways though.
God, I feel like I could go on a tangent about that. Like, why are humans so averse to unconditional love? Is it just the ego that we've built up over time? And then why are animals not capable of developing ego?
They don't come in with that piece of the spirit. They don't carry that as baggage the way that we do.
Animals, like, so say you get a pit bull or a rescue dog. I don't know why I singled out pit bulls, but say you get a rescue and then they have that very hard shell that you kind of have to crack through so you can find that good dog in the middle. Would you consider that like an ego, or is that just kind of like a trauma? Because I feel like
trauma.
Yeah.
Because ego it's not necessarily ego in the way we think of ego. Ego is more, I don't want to botch this, we're riffing people.
Yeah.
Ego is, I'm strategizing how to operate and manipulate myself in this world so that this doesn't happen to me, or so that you can't do X to me, or so that I can get ahead about Y. And for an animal, from our perspective, right, if we get abused when we're kids, it's a terrible topic, but right, we're talking about rescue animals, so we're talking about abuse on some level. From a human perspective, if we get abused, we start to change our perception of the world, and no matter what you say to me, no matter how nice you are to me, I don't believe you, and I carry this with me as part of my identity. So it's really different for an animal who may have had a trauma or abuse in their life, and the energy of it has affected them. But they also are in a place where if you repeatedly show me and you bring love and energy to me, I will heal and I will let that go, and I will not carry it as baggage. that's why we see some animals, a lot of the ones from rescue who are, you know, people have the patience to bring out of their shell. You're like, geez, you'd never know that what they went through 3 years ago. Look at him, you know, he's so happy, and he's so happy because he's not resentful of the past. They don't carry resentment the way that we do in our egos. I guess maybe that's a good way to say it.
Yeah. It's a tough one because I don't know, I specifically love the dogs that are just like, I don't know why. Like, is this like a savior complex on my side? But I love the dogs like Sunshine that are so shut down
and
afraid of their own
Sunshine.
farts, because I feel like I have like a patience for that.
Yeah.
Versus the dogs that are like more reactive and stuff like that. I'm just kind of like, I don't know here. This is like a different, and some people are so good at that and don't have the patience for like mill moms and the really shut down, really submissive dogs. Like I can work wonders on a submissive dog, but you give me a reactive dog and I'm like, you got to take it back. Like I'm like, I can't help you here. I'm kind of reactive too. And
well, there you go. That's probably why you and reactive dog, what they do is they trigger in you the stuff that's making you reactive. They mirroring you, where because you're more of a reactive person and you want to bring out the soft one. It's kind of a nice. It's like yin and yang.
Yeah. Interesting. The opposites attract.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And I do think that, I mean, for any of us that have, I guess, and if anybody's watching that feels like they have a type in rescue, let me know what it is. And if you think that it has any correlation to your personality, because I do see myself, I'm like, if it's not injured or if it's not terrified, I don't want it. You know what I mean? And then every now and then they'll be like, oh, sweet angel beagle. And I'll get this beagle and it's like an absolute nightmare. And I'm like, ooh, you're not meshing. Because Sunshine was like my 22nd foster or something like that.
Well,
I miss it so much.
We talked about Sunshine, right? And how Sunshine came to you.
Yeah. And the whole thing I'm just trying to work on. I just keep thinking about patience with her. Because what did she say? She said, I'm just slow or something like that. And I'm like,
I need to go at my own pace.
Everything is at her pace.
Oh, right. She was talking about eating and wanting to eat really slowly and not be bothered when she was eating, right?
So that's what I'm thinking about, like giving her a separate section off or something. Because I'm like thinking about that. Like she eats like a Hoover. You know what I mean? Like just. But I think that's the result of coming out of that hoarding situation. I think that if she didn't slurp her food down, and as soon as if she's getting into something, the trash, the cat poop, your food, whatever it is, you look at her, she just eats faster. And because I think she's never, like 3 years later, you think that she'd feel safe. Never taken food away from that dog except for, well, I yell at her when she's eating my son's dinner that I just made, but I think that's pretty valid. Would she, is she saying that she wants to be able to eat slow? You know what I mean?
Yeah, she doesn't want to have to guard herself while she's eating.
Yeah, because she's like this big, and she's smaller than my cats. Honestly, she's not that big. She's normal, but she's smaller than the cats. And even like the cats will try to come get her food. And so now I'm like,
so can you see why she's like, I want to eat at my pace without. Yeah.
Would she be okay if you like put her in a crate to let her eat in there, so she's just like doesn't
maybe I'm thinking about putting her like in my room so that she can take her time. I'm just afraid that she'll like poop in my room while she's out. I know, because usually like they're both old, and Scarlet, if you don't let her out like immediately, as long as that last bite goes in her mouth, she's peeing. And so I'm like, everybody immediately goes outside. Sunshine wanders her way down to Wilder's room and poops on his cute little rugs. No, she'd probably be fine. But that's what I have, a elevated bowl, kind of one of those like pedestal bowls for cats.
Yep.
That we're gonna try with her. I've just been kind of propping it up on a Tupperware because that's what she said. She wanted the bowl to be raised because her neck was hurting, and she wants to eat slow. Yeah. And I thought that was cool too, that the soul level connection, because I was like, and another thing that really wanted me to get here, and we'll kind of get more into the like soulmates. I don't feel like in the, at least in the way that we would think of, I don't can you have multiple soulmates?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. I feel like when we think about it, you think you can only have one. So I was like, well, she can't be my soulmate because I think Belle was my soulmate, and I feel very strong about that.
Right.
And Belle was, yeah, it was almost exactly a year to the date. I didn't know at the time that Belle would pass away. And I had seen a picture of Sunshine. I had that annoying beagle, God bless her, foster at the time. And my rescue that I was working with had posted, and this was only, I just started fostering, like maybe a month before. And they had pulled 10 dogs from a case in Scioto County by us, out of a house of 30. And I saw a picture of this greasy little dog in the back. Like, I think I barely even saw a profile of her. And I was like, who's that black one? You know what I mean? Like, there was something that was like laser beamed to her. And I was like, I had like a 2-year-old at the time and was living at my parents' house. And, you know, starting a small business is not big money. So I was at the absolute most uncomfortable place to adopt a dog, which is why I was fostering, let alone a senior dog with known health issues.
Right.
And I just had this like laser beam connection that as soon I had to get that dog. And I like just like couldn't wait to go visit her, and she crawled in my lap right away, and she was so grubby and scabby and greasy. And then I was like, I need this dog. So I like moved all sorts of stuff around, got her as a foster, and immediately was like, oh my God, I'm so obsessed with her. She's the most perfect baby angel. And then I ended up adopting her. I was looking at photo stamps or timestamps on photos. I adopted her like exactly a year and 1 day before my chocolate lab, who I believe is my soulmate, or at least, you know, passed away. And I don't think that I could have made it through that if I hadn't had that time to develop that bond with Sunshine. Because Belle was my, like, she was my rock, you know. And we had a lot of really cool conversations about Belle, and I am not going to cry this time. But I just think it's cool because then you think like, well, she can't be my soulmate because my soulmate was still alive. And so I thought that would be kind of something we can talk about a little bit.
So do we
What
want
do we call it? Like the string theory or something like that. And I love the like diagram that you told me, kind of a little Venn diagram of
it's really cool. And
soul
the first time I
interception.
saw it, I think I was reading somebody's cat, and they were talking about their other lives, and they showed me this diagram where they were this ball of light, and they were in spirit already, and so they were looking at, I don't know if they were actually, no, I think they were in spirit, and they were showing me this ball of light that they were, which is their essence, right? Your soul's essence, that spark, I'll call it, that
Kind of
travels
how
through
I'm
every
envisioning
experience.
it.
Yeah, kind of like that. And they saw themselves in all of their different iterations of existence in attached to each ring as it went out from them in like 3D. And then they showed me how each of our sparks has this, and then intersects in these crazy intersections where we're supposed to meet up to have lessons learned. And in the center of all of these rings of light that are going all over the place like this is your true essence, that is looking at the Karen experience, the when I was the painter in Venice experience, when I was, the cave woman experience. And when we go back to what they say, wholeness, it's like they can see and understand. We all actually can see and understand, like, our fullness of
And
our
for
experiences.
our people that are watching here, we're kind of talking about like cycles of
Right.
reincarnation. So you have, I'll bring up my little rough drawing
Yes,
here.
please.
But you know,
That's a
like
good little drawing.
your soul basically is your spirit.
Yeah.
And then these are kind of the levels of reincarnation, and eventually you intersect with those other
Right. And there's
souls as they are in their
hundreds and
lives.
hundreds of those intersecting like that in like space.
Yeah. I just think that's so
That's my
cool. I've
crazy
not been
thing.
able to stop thinking about that.
Yeah.
Um and I just think that that's so cool. Reincarnation was one of those things because I mean I was raised staunchly Catholic, and it was like world religions class, and they are definitely very, sorry for any Catholics on here, but very anti animals in heaven. And I was like,
Right.
I'm not going then. I'm
That
going
is
wherever my dogs go and drop me off at the
hilarious,
Rainbow Bridge.
Lauren. I was bounced back and forth between Pentecostal and Baptist churches when I was younger. And that is one of my core memories, is talking to one of my like Bible study teachers when I was like, I had to have been like 8 years old.
And she was teaching all these little kids in Sunday school about, going to heaven and all these different like levels, and that she said our animals were not there where we are in heaven. And I went up to her and I said, I remember this so clearly. I was like, there aren't animals in heaven. And she said, no, we don't need them in heaven. And I was like, well, then I don't want to go to heaven. And
I remember
like
ninth grade Old Testament class, Brother Tom. And they were on the topic of how animals don't go to heaven. And I stood up and I said, "You're telling me that if dogs don't go to," and I got up and I left class.
Yeah.
That didn't go well in Catholic school. It was a lovely Catholic school, I will say. But I got up and left because I was like, I just have a hard time with that.
Yeah.
So that's where.
Who are we to say? Honestly, no matter what I'm getting from an animal is what my human-sized capacity of expansion can handle, right? So that's why I would never say that, even though I'm getting what I'm getting, that I'm the end all be all, because you receive, like, we get these tiny little peeks behind the veil, right, of true creation. Whatever you want to think that is. I don't know what that actually is, but whatever you want to think it is, we get these tiny little glimpses. And to say that we know best, or that that's the way, is crazy.
Yeah. And that's always been something I had a hard time with, because I'm like, to me, reincarnation and thinking about that, maybe it's just my optimism. Maybe it's just something that I wish is true because I think it sounds great. You kind of learn a lesson, and then maybe you get to go back and live that lesson the next time. But also, I don't know, it's just something that is always, it's been as true to me as breathing air. You know what I mean? And that's not ever something that I've second guessed. And it's hard, obviously, having that question. I don't want to get too into religion because I don't want to get canceled here, but it's, I have a lot of, I have a lot of feelings on that because, how do you know? And all I know is that I have felt this connection to these animals, and we can go to the kind of like soulmate thing. Now, I don't think that I knew that Belle was my soulmate. She was just my special little dog. And I wish I could pull up a picture of her, but the time of her passing, so it was I had just met my now partner, and I think I told you this is why what you said kind of like all clicked in. I just met my partner after years of kind of tumultuous, really just trying to find myself and messing up, and then learning lessons and messing up and learning lessons. And she was just kind of that like stable, kind rock there for me the whole time. And like, I used to have crippling panic attacks, and so she lived with me for a couple of years as my like emotional support dog. I don't know why I quote, because like I don't think I could have done it without her. And I learned so much from her, even through her cancer and her sickness. This company exists because of that dog.
Well,
because
I mean, I exist in this iteration of myself in this profession because of my cat Hockey Puck. So
and the people that don't see dogs, I guess, though, or at least even pets, the way that we do, would be like, that's so silly. But honestly, screw you, because it's, I know that I would not be where I am today without that dog, or at least without, her kind of holding me together throughout the times I need her. Because I had her from like 16 to 20, I think I was maybe 28, 29. And that was the craziest couple of years of my life, going through an abusive relationship and then leaving, having to learn how to be myself, having to learn, really try to find my purpose. And then I feel like I'd really just fallen into routine, and things were just starting to get good. And then she developed a cancerous tumor, and everything just kind of went really quickly from there. Not really long enough that I had time to kind of deal with this situation in a healthy pace, I think. And even the whole process of her passing, I feel like I learned so much, because all I want to do now is help people achieve that kind of peace with their dogs. And I know that's not always dogs, cats, horses. I know that's not always possible, but I very much, looking back at it, I'm like, God, it's almost like she got me to the door and she was like, hey, you're good.
Right.
I have chills thinking about it. And that was one of the things that you said, even without even really getting to that. You said, like she said, it was time to move on. We will again. And I really just got
chills
that
now,
feeling.
even when
I
you say
know.
it.
I really just got that feeling that, like, she was like, hey, you're good now. You don't need me. God, I'm going to cry again. And it's one of those things that it's hard to understand unless you have lived those exact experiences. But I also have gone through, and I'm like, I'm going to see her again in some form. And it wasn't something, I feel pretty strongly that it's not like I wish I could have her back. I wish I could have her back. Yeah, obviously I miss her, but I just felt like we had that string. Like, we've been together through lives. We were supposed to find each other. I was supposed to be at that event with this. If I hadn't had Leah, then we wouldn't have been at that dock diving event where I would have met her litter, and then we adopted her that day, and that's really what drove me, that and the combination of my son being so fixated on all of these past dogs of mine. That drove me to want to have this conversation, because I feel like so often people are like, oh, she's my soul dog, my heart dog.
Yeah.
But then if you try to, like, take it a little bit deeper, you get a little poo-pooed on. And I feel like, I think I mentioned this to both of you, it's almost like I want to be able to give permission to people to think deeper into that and maybe follow, like, pull that string into the dark a little bit,
Like, why? The question is, like, why? Why is this particular animal your soul baby, or your heart baby, or your guiding light? There's a real reason there. So, and what they're doing for you, you need, whatever kind of behavior they're taking on, so that you have to take care of yourself better, or be more conscious, or feel more loved, or feel more seen. There's something that they're doing for you that you desperately need, and that you're syncing up at the perfect time, so that you can also evolve and grow.
And I think that for anybody that's on here, for anybody that listens to this, if you feel like you have an animal that you had or currently have that kind of connection with, take a second to think about, what lessons have you learned from that animal? What coincidences have there been, if there have been any? Because I know for me, there was a lot. And one of the first things you said to me was, there are no coincidences.
Right.
And I really believe that. And I don't want to go too deep in it because it's not my story to tell, but even my brother-in-law had passed away from a sarcoma in his leg. And then his dog, who was very much his, like, twin flame, as far as I've heard, passed away from a very similar cancer, also in her leg. And I'm like, that's not coincidence.
No.
And I don't think it's
not
a bad thing. I don't think it's, I think a lot of times we get stuck in the suck of the transition.
Yep.
But if you think about it, it's, I think it's not that bad, especially if you think about, like, that was just the end of this lesson. Now we move on to the next chapter, kind of things like that. And that's why I like trying to help people work through passing of pets. And to me, it's not a depressing conversation. Nobody seems to want to talk about it. But I think that there's a lot of beauty in it too, especially if you can take the time to think about what lessons you've learned from that animal and what they've done for you through your life. And I know it's like a real deep, but I think it is.
Some way you're honoring them, right? With thanking them for embodying and aligning with you, so that you guys could have these experiences in this particular moment. So of course we're sad because we're here and they're not anymore, right? There's this division that happens because they exist now on a plane that we don't have full access to while we're here. So we do miss them, and that is really sad. And there's no getting around that, no matter how much whether you can speak to them, feel them, see their auras, even though they're not in a body, you're still missing the 3D experience. And that, having that grief is just part of this actual learning of being in the 3D, is to have that grief experience as well. But you can honor them at the same time, which is what you're saying. And that helps with the grief. It helps with why it was time for them to let go or become free again, or because they never say I'm dying to me. Honestly, they've never used those words.
Yeah, like you said, it was time to go.
Yeah, time
It
to
was
go.
time to move on. And Jessica, I was going to say, feel free to butt in. I feel like we just
Yeah,
I
you've
could
had
go on
human
and talk about this
experiences
forever.
too, Jess. So
I do. Well, I find that comforting. The idea that it's not like gone forever, right? That in some capacity we each helped each other. And I think so when Karen, you did a reading for me for my cat Romeo, who was alive at the time and he has since passed. And there were so many things from that session that have stuck with me. The one thing, and I don't think I've told you this, at the time, you said something about his back leg bothering him, and I completely dismissed it because I'm like, he's fine, there's nothing wrong with him. And a few months later, it is when he broke his leg, and that's when I found out he had osteosarcoma. And so that was like,
not
in
me
that
over here
moment when I
scanning my notes.
Yeah, when I found that, when I took him to get the x-ray, which by the way was not an easy thing to do. Nobody wanted to x-ray him. It was crazy. But I found a vet that would do it, and he pulled up the x-ray in front of me, and I looked at it, and he was like, he didn't know how to tell me that my cat had osteosarcoma, but I'm looking at this x-ray and like tears started to come down my face, and I'm looking at it as not a veterinarian.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, he has osteosarcoma. And and the vet just shook his head at me. And so that was like, first of all, oh my gosh. Now everything that I was already feeling from that session that we had together, I felt like almost like it was okay for me to believe it and have all these feelings because I had something physically come of it. So I wanted to mention that just in case there are people that are still like, I don't know, like, and that's your right to think that this stuff is all woo woo, and if you don't want to accept it, don't accept it. That's, part of your journey. But the thing that stuck with me more than anything was how you described him. Because you told me that his soul was so big that it couldn't fit inside of his body, in the cat body in the 3D. And so the way you saw him was like this giant soul being almost dragged along by this tiny little cat body.
Yeah.
And that to me was like an epiphany. Like that was him in a nutshell.
Oh, wow.
Like I couldn't pinpoint that before the conversation we had, but he was always like larger than life. If that made
And it's funny you say that because I remember, it's funny when I'm reading, I don't remember what I say afterward because it's not me. I'm telling you what I'm being told. But I do remember you saying, yeah, he may not want to talk to you because he can be difficult. And I thought, and he did make me wait. When we first connected, I had to sit back and wait and actually kind of give him some respect. And that's when he got really big. And I thought, oh, maybe the people who've tried to connect with him haven't sat back and seen all of him. And he didn't want to speak to you if you weren't seeing all of him. It was really an interesting experience. I do remember that when I sat back and all of a sudden I was like, whoa, he's really big. I remember saying that to you. Yeah.
Yes, because everybody that I had tried to get to connect with him prior to you, he physically would like walk around the room and spray during like while other people were trying to connect with him. He did not like it at all.
Oh my goodness.
But he didn't do that with you. So, and I was on edge, honestly, because I'm like watching him the whole time as we're as you're connecting with him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is he gonna, because he was kind of like, he was walking around the room for probably a good 15-20 minutes of the start of the session before he settled down. And I was like, oh man, is he gonna spray?
That's
No,
funny.
he was bringing me through the paces, you know, making sure that I was on point with letting him tell me, as opposed to me trying to tell him, you know.
Yeah. But I think what I've gotten out of most of the animal communication sessions that I have been through, and I maybe, you know, every animal is different, every human is different. For me, I feel like almost all of my animals that I've had somebody connect with, I learn a little bit more about how spiritual our connections are. It's not just, oh, this is a responsibility that I have in this lifetime, which is true. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a responsibility to have a pet, but just that they are so spiritual. And I even have one cat that I actually had another animal communicator connect with, and I feel like my job in this life was to give her space, because my understanding is that, like, her, in this lifetime, her role, she has been going out into other dimensions and doing work in other dimensions. And so it has been my job and my responsibility to keep her safe on this plane while she is out doing all of this work that she needs to be doing. Which may sound
totally
very
can believe
crazy
that.
to people.
Sure. That's amazing. What's this cat's name?
Samantha. I call her Sissy.
Sissy.
Yeah.
Sissy Samantha. That's awesome.
Yes. Yeah. But then you and your podcast hosts also recently connected in with my dog Claire that passed many years ago.
Oh, yes.
And even though that was really, really quick, that was like a 5-minute thing that was for the podcast, I was just blown away by how accurate everybody was. Like, nobody knew anything. I didn't even know going into the podcast which animal I was going to ask to connect with. And during that quick 5 minutes, it was like the fact that she was red, the fact that she was a Pomeranian, like all of these things came up. And I'm like, you couldn't have known. None of the three of you could have known any of that.
And Claire Bear, right? I think I remember hearing her say, I'm Claire Bear.
Yes. I called her Claire Bear.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's how I felt about with Belle. Was it right off the bat? Like, I mean, it was the first thing, you know, you took some time to try to kind of connect with her. And then, like, right off the bat, you just said, I'm so proud of you. And I sobbing, because it's one of those things that I kind of say to myself as an affirmation as I go through this career and connect with people that I wish I would have known previously, but I spread the information and stuff that I've learned about her, and I kind of grown up as a person. I kind of tell myself, I'm like, I really feel like she'd be proud of me. And I feel in my heart that she'd be proud of me, which is, you know, like I said, if you don't have that deep connection to dogs, that might sound silly, but I really feel like she'd be proud of me. So you said that, and I wanted to throw up because I was like, my God, that's the best thing you could have said. And then, yeah, just the description of her as like a mother energy was just,
that's right.
I mean, everything like that. And that was just really cool. Yeah, that was a really cool conversation. And I loved feeling that. So it was kind of like everything I think I wanted to hear about this dog that was so special to me, and that I want to vomit every time I look at pictures of her because I miss those soft ears so much. But yeah, it was just so cool. And I think that I lost my train of thought, but one of the kind of takeaways we had from that was to embrace the connection, let go, allow experiences, and follow. So I said sometimes, like, let yourself find that. If you've always been like, if you think that you have your soul dog, or just a dog that's put into your life, a dog, a person, a cat, a horse, a bird, that's put in your life for some reason, kind of of let yourself think about it. And maybe you could give some tips on how people can kind of try to get deeper into that. I spend a lot of time practicing like mindfulness and meditation, so that's not something that's very hard to me to try to narrow down kind of where I'm at. And see if you can kind of grab that string and pull on it a little bit and see where things are trying to take you. If something really crappy happens, I think I told you, like, I've gotten to a point now where I realized the universe was like knocking on the window, like, hey, listen to me, like chucking bricks at me. I said like metaphor, spiritual bricks at me. And I was finally like, oh, okay. And so I started to listen to these things. And now I've been brought into this path where I just feel so fulfilled. And it wasn't all nice, but I feel like I've learned so much. And I think that just taking the time to kind of simplify your intentions, and I'm like, I don't have the words for it, and try to find that like spiritual string and kind of tug on it, figure out what you're being pushed towards, see what experiences you're being guided towards that might be trying to teach you that lesson or that purpose that you're here for. And I just think that that was such a cool takeaway from it. Embrace the connection, let go, allow experiences, and follow. And I just think that that's so cool.
I guess I would just say, you know, it comes through finding your animals, right? We don't, we can decide, I don't know where I'm going with this, but we can go, oh, I'm going to go get a dog, right? It's time for a dog. But the fact that you even have that as a thought in your head is not just you, right?
Yeah.
And if we can just allow ourselves a little bit of a broader viewpoint on these things, to think that we aren't the end all be all decision makers, we are part of a receptive path. Even when we do have free will. Of course we have free will. You can be standing there and go, am I going to eat that bar of chocolate, or am I going to drink that cocktail, or am I going to go eat that apple? That's free will, right?
Yeah.
But there's also the path of, even while we're doing something, the thing that we're experiencing may not be, we didn't necessarily, how do I say this, create it ourselves. It's part of our soul's agreement to have a certain lesson or experience, and it's manifesting in a certain way at a certain moment, including the idea that it's time to go get a dog, or it's time, or a cat shows up in your backyard, or the one who stares at you from behind everyone else like sunshine, you get honed in on. That's not just because you, Lauren, happen to be the type of human being that wants to save the meek and milds, right? And help give them a voice, because that's, if you look at that, that's also part of you. It's because the soul agreement you had with sunshine, we talked about a past life, which I'll let you share if you want, but this agreement you have with sunshine, there's no way you wouldn't have seen her, because you were in an experience of being guided, even though you thought it was you. So it's almost like all the pegs line up and we go zzz.
Well, and Candon, I don't know if he's still on here, but we were just talking about that. I'm like, it's I would not have liked him, and he would not have liked us if we hadn't gone through a couple experiences and kind of things to get us exactly where we need to be. And it just is one of those things that I'm like, it's just a little bit too coincidental, the timing of everything. And basically, to simplify all of that, I do fully believe, and it sounds like you do too, that everything happens for a reason.
100%.
And sometimes it's a giant ball of suck, and you're like, why does this reason have to be happening? But then I think once that kind of smoke clears, and you have to think on it a little bit and figure out, because there's something, and maybe it's setting you up for the next thing to happen. You know what I mean? Has to knock you down.
If some things happen for reasons that are beyond our comprehension at the moment, right? Like, I didn't know why at 28, when I threw a Frisbee, I was going to compress 2 of my discs in my back. 20 years old, totally fit, compressed 2 discs in my back, right? But there was a trajectory that happened because of it. And I made different choices
Hmm.
because of it. And I learned different things because of it. Right. So when I look back, hindsight's 2020 for sure. So you can
Yeah.
kind of look back on things and say, wow, yeah, I can see where I zigged and zagged, but I still ended
I do
up learning what
definitely
I
feel
needed
like,
to learn,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I have a lot of that in my life for sure that
Zigs and zags.
it could, oh yeah,
Mhm.
could knock me down. It could
Yeah,
give me excuses as to why I should pity myself and why,
right.
a lot of people don't make it out of stuff like that. But I was always like, okay,
Hmm.
I have to do this for
Yeah.
some reason. It's fine. We'll just keep looking upwards. And kind of a little string off of that I want to bring up because I know we're all crazy cat ladies here is the cat distribution system.
Yes.
Yes.
Why do I get distributed so many cats? We have 4 cats. We have so many cats. Darwin was the last one, and I said I won't even touch another kitten. Like, what is he doing back there?
Oh.
And he's so funny. But we have so many cats, and luckily they're lovely cats. But we had brought that up, and you had never heard the term before. But I'm like, cat distribution system just hit me hard. You don't like go out, and if you want like a Maine Coon or something like that. But most people, you're like, oh, this is Fluffy. I found her under a downspout, minus
Mhm.
3 of her legs, and
Yeah.
now she's a sweet princess baby. And that's kind of how
Yeah.
Darwin was. And all of mine, I'm like, well, these are my cats now.
Well,
Yep.
and
And
you
I
have to
think
say,
that's,
yes, the cat distribution system, now that I understand the language, has been distributed through me too. I mean, my first cat, Dusty, in college, we found under a car outside of our apartment. And then she reincarnated and came back to me as Hockey Puck,
yeah,
which we found in the middle of a divided highway in the middle of the night, tied to dreams that I was having from about finding her, then turned into him.
yeah.
So, it's really, they find you the when they're supposed to. And then Note and Dia, the ones I have now, which you guys probably see
Mm,
on Instagram, Hockey Puck is the one that guided me to them. So there's definitely a distribution system going on.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and I have to, I mean, I know we're already over an hour, but I, just to kind of, for me, kind of tie up this whole idea of spirituality, I think, like, for me, and animal communication has been a part of this, but if
Mhm.
I am definitely going through a tower moment in my life right now,
Mhm.
and I don't think that, I don't know if I would have been strong enough to do what I needed to do to choose myself if I hadn't have started this spiritual journey that I did a couple of years ago. And animal communication has just been a part of that. Like
Mm,
tapping into how these animals have chosen me and my role in their current existence and their role in my current existence, and starting to understand soul contracts and all of these things. I don't know that I would have been strong enough to be
Yeah,
where I am now.
100%. I
Yeah.
don't, I, and I know what you're talking about, and we lots of love to you. And you're so strong, you're so strong. And um, our animals really do support us in our spiritual journeys. That's one of the amazing gifts when we take in animals and we really see them as partners. They really elevate our spirits, and help us see ourselves in the best light. We start to see pieces of ourselves that they know are there. That's why they love us unconditionally, because they see our essence and they help us see our own essences,
mm.
and our own strengths.
And
Because we want
kind
to
of
do
believe
it
it.
for them, right? Initially.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then we do it for ourselves.
You see like animals as spirit guides through so many different cultures around the
Hmm.
world. And same with like the concept of reincarnation, same with
Hmm.
like twin flame or string theory. You see so many different iterations of that as so many cultures around the world. And I'm like,
Hmm.
you can't make that up.
There's a lot of threads weaving together of,
Yeah.
yeah.
And same with like and for the people that like absolutely nay the, and I don't blame them, the idea. And also if anybody has any questions or anything with Karen or Jessica before we close up or anything, put them in the comments and we'll try to cover stuff. But you can't deny the fact that even the most genius of physicists, and we covered this, there is an energy field, a vibration, and everything like that to everything that lives, period. And that's, if you want to deny a psychic connection and or reincarnation, like I understand that, but you can't deny the energy in all of us, and the fact that many animals and people and things throughout the world have the ability to pick up on that. So I don't think it's that much of a stretch to say that certain people are closer to that. And you and I were talking about like the telepathy tapes. I think it's absolutely so magical. And I'll bet it's the same thing as like if you lose your sight, your hearing becomes more attuned. And if you lose your control of your body, then your mind's going to become more attuned. And even the government now employs psychics, whether you want to go down that conspiracy theory or not.
Well,
but that's been confirmed.
if you look at, okay, let's talk Men Who Stare at Goats, that movie. With some of my most favorite actors ever in that movie, all in one movie. I'm like, oh my God. But that is a spin-off, that is a bit of a satire around a true program that we have had in the United States oh my God, since the 50s, 60s and 70s, when, and it's based, you can read about it in a book called The Field by Lynn McTaggart, where she talks about this program. I think it was called Stargate.
Yeah.
And where they actually brought certain military people together who had a sensitivity to intuition and trained them to be psychic spies because Russia was doing it. And we needed to be able to train our military men to see remote view where bombs were being stored and things were being done and people were being held hostage. They also were working on psychic warfare where you could actually focus in on someone else's heart and actually target energy into their heart and try to assassinate them psychically. The weird thing is, though, is if you agreed to do that part of the work, you also ended up with a heart attack in the end. Your heart was weaker because you were using it to hurt other people. But this goes back for thousands and thousands of years to something called Thousand Mile Eyes, which comes out of Chinese philosophy. So, and practice in martial arts. So yeah, it's real. Psychic warfare and psychic remote viewing is a real thing, and it is part of the government, and it always has been. And she writes about it in her book. But we're learning to do what the animals are already doing, which is they can sense across miles when a storm is coming. They know which direction someone went miles and miles away if they are really honed in. They can talk to each other in separate buildings. So we're learning to do what we lost by doing that.
Yeah.
Well,
it's tough.
And I think, I mean, what I started out talking about, how we have spent so many hundreds, thousands, even years suppressing intuition and kind of a more feminine nature. That same thing, we have disconnected from nature in general. Like, I mean, there are people who live in high rises who, when's the last time they touched dirt or grass, right? Like that's where
that's my favorite
as a
Gen Z thing right now. Go touch grass.
Right.
Touch grass.
Yes, please stop eating Tide Pods and go touch grass. Like that's and so I think the more we get back to how we are supposed to be living as humans, the more we can get back to the intuitive parts of ourselves. Because and I personally think it's very deliberate that we have been conditioned and indoctrinated to to not be connected to nature. But
And that's
a whole other thing.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say,
That's a
I
whole nother
can't wait to cover
podcast.
that with you. From the hospitals. I mean, it's like I'm not exactly here like wishing I had a home birth because that I think is terrifying. But how far we've gotten from that like immediately you take them and you wash all the biological stuff off and wrap them in a polyester blanket immediately.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that from the beginning we've just gotten so far away from our nature and I think we're kind of there's at least a subsect of the world that's starting to get back to that, starting to grow your own food and I, you know, in my realm, I think there's a lot of respect in the food cycle, and I think that one of the best things you can do, I don't want to say best, one of the most respectful things you can do is have to. This sounds really brutal, but take the life that you're consuming. Like I think that there's a lot of honor behind hunting. I used to hate it. I used to think I'm like, what are you just gonna stalk an animal down in its home? I think that the process of stalking and going to the process of taking the lives like Native Americans would, what they would like say thank you for your sacrifice and using the whole animal. I think there's so much honor in that because that's really getting us back to our root biological cycle. And I just think that's kind of a cool thing.
That's a whole other thing that I think would be really cool to talk to Karen about, because I know I have heard a lot of more spiritual people, and especially animal communicators, say that they can't eat meat anymore once they connect to animals in this way. And I agree with you, Lauren, that granted, I'm not an animal communicator, but I completely agree with like, no, I am not okay with hunting for sport, but like that we have lost that connection to how we sustain ourselves as human beings, and like that's a very natural thing. We are supposed to be eating both plants and meat, and like that it's part of the natural life cycle. So I mean, we don't need to talk about that right now, but that would be a really cool thing to talk to you about,
That
Karen.
really well. The movie
Yes, that's
Avatar.
a whole nother topic. We'll wait for another day on that one.
I think the movie Avatar is like covers that so well. I'm like, yep, everything's interconnected. By in that, you know, in that movie, obviously it's like a sci-fi thing, but there is an interconnected cycle. And I have a heavy biology and ecology thing, and that is one part of that collapse and everything starts to get a little wonky. You know what I mean? Like if you miss one screw out of your car, something's going to be a little wonky. And I think that we've just disrupted that ecological cycle and we're kind of in the way of getting back to that right now. And I think it's a cool kind of process. We are done. We should probably start to close up, but is there anything else we want to cover? Anything else we want to do before we go?
I guess I would just say for my part at the end of this is take a breath with, if you're not doing it already, take a breath with your animal family members and look into their eyes directly and just share appreciation for their efforts to accommodate living in our world. Because left to their druthers, right? Left to their way of being, their most natural way of being, and granted, yes, is it safer for cats? Sure. Do dogs like sleeping under blankets? Yes. But besides those comforts, they literally are constantly trying to figure out how to communicate with us because they are living in our world and we have absolutely made them feel that way. So, and we have invited them into our construct, which means we are absolutely in control of everything. And remember how gracious they are in allowing us to be in control of when they go for walks, when they get to relieve their bladders, what they get to eat, when they get to sleep, when they get to be in our presence, when they are too overstimulated. They have literally agreed to be in our worlds, in that case, domesticate for us. So to have some gratefulness for them and just to say thank you and try to see things through their eyes once in a while, just watch what happens. It really does shift the energy and focus between us in a way you will see them differently.
And I think kind of on that topic too, that's why I love to tell people to remember.
Yeah.
the-
Thank you, Nasli, for saying
Yeah.
that, for that reminder. Yeah. Oh, we lost your voice again. We lost her voice again.
She must have. No. You must have gotten a call again.
Yep.
Like, I
She
keep
got
getting calls.
disrupted because we get to talk more now.
No, I think giving them back little senses of their true nature, things like I do with rabbit fur and stuff like that, just a little bit that lets them use that parts of their instinct, I think is really important, because we do force them into our sterile, tide scented homes, give them a little bit of their natural stimulation back and things like that.
So just, giving them the respect back that they are working really hard to figure us out, and that we can do that too.
Yeah. I wish we had time to do a quick reading or something, but
Next
maybe
time.
we'll have to do another one. Yeah, we'll do another conversation. I feel like I could talk about this forever. I didn't even get to talk about Sunshine and I's history. I almost want to talk about that. I'm just going to do a really quick.
Do a quickie episode.
Sunshine. And so she's a little dog that I felt like I had that really deep connection with. And she's this like little delicate princess, like can't jump over barely a doorstep. You had gotten like a really clear vision of her and I as like a hunter and a deer tracking dog, specifically a black and white speckled, maybe hound dog or setter or something. And Sunshine, I adopted her when she was maybe 10 or 11. And you said that in that past life, we were a team and we would hunt together and everything, but then something happened where she got lost and I didn't get to see the end of her life. Or I never found out what happened to her. Maybe she died, maybe something like that. And so now she's coming back so I can experience that end of her life again, and I can make up for what I didn't get to do the first time or something kind of like that. And I was like, interesting. My little delicate angel baby dog, a deer hunter.
Yeah.
And I was a man, which is...
Yeah, and it was hundreds of years ago.
Yeah. Which I think is cool, because it almost wraps into what I do now. Like, why do I have this weird thing that I chop up animals and I feel very at home with it? Not that I chop up animals, you know what I mean.
I do,
but I just thought that was really cool. I'm like, what a weird connection, because I felt like I'm like, I've known her before, I just don't know why. And I think that that's so cool.
Yeah, and that was only one of the times. Times that she shared. So in
our little Venn diagram
in your
of lives.
Collaborations. Yeah.
Well, if anybody has any questions, drop them in really quick. Otherwise, if you guys have anything else you want to say, and then we'll finish up.
I just have one question, because ever since you talked about your cat Marnie, I'm like, I have this strange desire to watch Halloween Town. Is that what she is named after?
It is. Nobody ever knows that. Yeah. That was my favorite movie growing up. And then I was working at a pet store with actually Megan, who's watching this. She was my assistant manager at a pet store, and now she works for me. And somebody brought in this little kitten, and they were like, yeah, we're taking her to the shelter. But I mean, she was like, I was like, they're going to probably put her down because they don't have staff for bottle feeding. That's just kind of what it was. And it was like the week before Halloween. And I'm like, what's a strong, resilient little girl that has something to do with Halloween? And I'm like, Marnie, because she is the witch that defeated Calabar. Calazar? And what a good movie.
I think it's Calabar. I think it's
That's so cool.
Revenge or something.
I haven't seen it in a couple of years, but now I want to watch it.
I watch it every October. It's a good one.
That's good.
Yeah. So that's what she's named after, and she's a spicy little... Her eyes are like stuck up. She's Siamese something. I need to do some. I keep meaning to do like an intro of my cat. Somebody asked me on a previous Instagram. They're like, introduce all your cats, and I was like, there's too many of them, and they're all running from me. I actually hear her screaming at me outside the door. But I'll have to do an intro of all the menaces in my life, including Darwin, who's chewing on something over here. But thank you guys so much for hopping on with me. I've been so excited about this, and we might have to do a volume 2.
Absolutely.
Sometime.
And put questions, and then we'll know what volume 2 should be about.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. If you guys have any topics you want to talk about on the next one, anything that you maybe thought was woo-woo before and you want us to cover with no judgment and absolutely believing in you, let us know. Because yeah, that was, you wanted me to talk to Nancy Windhart, and I found her thing, and she has some little webinars, so I'm going to go take that, and then we'll have to talk after that.
Awesome.
So all right, well, thank you, everybody. We will be saving this, and so you can watch it again if you want to watch back, and we will talk again soon.
Thank
Bye, guys.
you.
Bye.
Oh, okay, so that was an emotional episode. I know, I was there. And I hope that it meant something to you. I hope that it hit you somewhere in your soul, like it did me, like it did Lauren, like I'm sure it does Karen. I don't know how Karen does what she does, honestly, but Lauren and I are both just in awe of her and what she does, and I highly recommend her for anyone that just needs a little bit of help. So I, as promised, Legacy Biome is a sponsor for this week's podcast, and I have used FMT capsules in the past, and I know I have recommended FMT to many of my clients. And Legacy is different in that their donor dogs are different. So they have enteric coated capsules, so they're designed to get through the upper GI system into the lower GI system where they're going to be most effective. And the donor dogs, they are coming out with cat, by the way. If they haven't already, they are very, very soon. I saw it on the website just a couple of weeks ago. It said pre-order. It's coming. So the donor dogs are incredibly healthy for multiple generations, low tox, no antibiotics, all the things. Like, these are really incredibly healthy dogs. They also eat a fully fresh food diet with a high amount and diversity in vegetation, which is very important because if you have been following the state of the gut reports for the past few years, raw fed dogs especially have way low fiber in their diets, way low vegetation, which is in turn creating imbalances in the microbiome. They don't have a lot or enough of certain bacteria that they should be having. Granted, we are not God. We don't know exactly what a healthy microbiome looks like, but we can make some recommendations based on tons of testing, tons of data that we have on this dog is healthy, this dog is not healthy, what's the difference in their microbiome, and we kind of go off of that. So some of the things that I have recommended FMT specifically for in my dogs that I work with are going to be GI upset, like chronic GI upset. Sometimes we don't use FMT first. Sometimes we do a few things before we do FMT. If this is the camp that you're in, contact me. We can do one-on-one consults. But yes, I absolutely use it for dogs who have chronic GI issues. I use it for dogs with bad breath. Think about that one, did you? I use it for dogs that have symptoms similar to heartburn and indigestion, behavioral issues, all kinds of things, food sensitivities, allergies. There are so many things that we can use FMT for because 70% of the immune system is in the gut. So if we are not consistently throughout the life of our dogs and cats creating a space for a healthy gut microbiome, we got problems. We're gonna have problems at some point. If you haven't yet, praise whoever you praise. Thank the universe. Thank Mother Gaia. Like, that's amazing. At some point we probably will. So FMT is a big part of the routine that I use for different things in dogs that I work with. So yeah, try Legacy Biome if you are interested in it. If you have questions about it, let me know. But if you're interested in it, go ahead to go to legacybiome.com, use the code TPPR. That's TPPR, which stands for the Pet Parenting Reset, to get 10% off of your order. And if you need help, reach out to me because that's what I'm here for. All right, guys, I hope you have a great week. Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you next week.